I think we're living in the best time in human history. The opportunity that we all have to create freedom for ourselves, to make money online, to almost like create our own reality and forge our own destiny is unparalleled. I think in the last 18 months, I've closed probably 250 people through the DMs or through like a basic sales page with no sales calls, never dealing with objections ever. Simple way to understand it is strong marketing equals easy sales. Weak marketing equals hard sales. That's where you're in the DMs and you're like, please buy from me, and you're getting ghosted and you're following people up.
Meet Dan Bolton, a self-made entrepreneur and coach who found a way to make millions on easy mode, living a life of freedom, impact, and fun. But things weren't always so good.
A few months after the first wave of COVID hit, our Facebook ads account gets hacked by some guy in Vietnam. Over the next 30 days, it cost me $100,000 cash. I think my skill set and kind of what I've been really working on is not how much money I can make, but the ease with which I can make it. Everything starts when you escape the matrix of the mind, which is like the matrix isn't some system out here controlling us. It's us limiting ourselves.
So for a coach or a consultant or entrepreneur that wants that dream life, they see it, they envision it, that's what they are, but they're stuck. Where would you help them to getting to where you are now?
Well, I think the key is...
Dan Bolton, nice to see you, my friend.
Hello.
Welcome to Canada.
Dude, I mean, it's been a pretty cold and wet welcome, but it's good to be here. Good to be here. I mean, who needs, sunny weather?
I do, desperately.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm really happy we're having this conversation. But for someone clicking on this episode, reading the title, why should someone stick around and listen to what you have to say?
Well, that's yet to be determined. But I think we're living in the best time in human history. I think like the era we're living in, I know in many ways can seem challenging and oh my gosh, everything's so terrible. But like the opportunity that we all have to create freedom for ourselves, to make money online, to almost like create our own reality and forge our own destiny is unparalleled. And so I'm super excited to dive into the incredible opportunity that so many people have to take control of their lives, to take control of their income, and to create a version of modern autonomy for themselves.
I love that. So before we get really into the weeds, because there's a lot I desperately am so happy to share and talk about, give us a rundown of your experience. Who is Dan Bolton?
Yeah. I grew up in New Zealand, if anyone can tell from the accent, not from Australia. I'll put that out there, And I grew up in a single parent household, just grew up with my mom. My parents split when I was 3 weeks old. And I found myself at 12, not having grown up in like a religious household or anything like that, but found myself in a church because the girl next door that I liked was going to church. And so I wanted to be where she was. And so she invited me to this church. And for anyone who's like familiar with churches, this was like a Pentecostal, like swing from the chandeliers type vibe, touch people on the forehead, they fall over. And so I go there and I have this experience and I give my life to Jesus. And there's this really significant moment of, up until that point, I've been living a certain life. And this sounds crazy, but like people have the college years, that they go out and they like live wild. For me, that was literally 10, 11, 12, because I was like doing drugs and getting drunk at that age because my older siblings were, they were involved in underground economies, And so that moment, that 12 years old, was a huge turning point, changed the trajectory of my life. And going into high school, heavily involved in youth group and church. And when I was 16, I dropped out of high school, and I'm probably not the person to give people advice to stay in high school because I left and it was amazing. And I became the youngest sex ed presenter in the country. So I was 16 and I was going into high schools, talking on a subject I had very little experience on, talking to people like not that much younger than me. And so I'd go around schools and get paid to like talk about, life choices and things like that. And so even though I was a teenager myself, it started this passion for working with other teenagers. And so then at 18, I found myself at a church that desperately needed a youth pastor, like someone to work with their teenagers. And so I didn't want to do it. I was like searching for anything else that would sound better than that. But I said yes. And that for me was the next 9 years of my life. I was working at a church, working with young people. And I thought that I was going to do that for the rest of my life. Literally, like the way churches work is kind of like businesses where you like start in certain roles and then you work your way up.
Yep.
And when I started with the church, there were no teenagers to look after. Like I was like going to have to like find them to start the youth group. And then by the time I'd finished, the church was thousands of people and it had grown so much. And so naturally we thought we were going to move from working with teenagers to young adults to planning our own church and da-da-da. But at the end of 2017, really intuitively felt like there was a pull towards something different. And I didn't know what that different was. I just felt like there was a chapter coming to an end, and anyone who's ever had that intuitive sense that doesn't logically make sense will be able to relate to that. And so end of 2017, I talked to my wife and I'm like, hey, I think we're supposed to finish up, but I thought we were going to do this forever, and I'm sure you did too, but what do you think about that? And fast forward to April 2018, we finished that up. I was waiting for like a job opportunity to come up, which, even though I dropped out of high school and never gone to university or anything like that, I was like, I have some skills. Like, I think I'm pretty good at sales. I've been selling Jesus for a long time. How will this, what's going to play out? And I was expecting some kind of miraculous job opportunity, and it never came. So I decided I needed to hire myself. And I wasn't the guy that had a background in entrepreneurship at all. When I hear people that share like, I was 9 and doing a lemonade stand and 11 swinging baseball cards, like, dude, I can't relate at all. I was like playing video games and hanging out and not a care in the world. So I started a business, and that Monday that I started the business, we had somewhere between like $20 to $100 in our bank account. We had 1 more week worth of pay, not a month, but a week's worth of pay coming that Thursday. And so I needed to like figure something out fast. And so around that time, there were 2 really prominent dudes that were spamming my newsfeed with ads. And one was a guy called Ty Lopez, and he was talking about this thing called social media marketing agency. And another guy was Sam Ovens. And Sam Ovens deeply resonated with me because he was a New Zealander. He was a Kiwi like me, and he had grown up like 2 hours from where I lived. And he was now this hot shot, like living in New York, making money online. And so I listened to these 2 guys talk about this opportunity. You can solve problems for people online. And the thing that made the most sense for me was like an agency. So I was like, I'm going to figure that out. So that Monday, I'm like, I don't even have a laptop. I borrow my wife's laptop. I'm at a cafe, and I'm like, I'm gonna get clients. I'm gonna help them market online. And I had a little bit of experience marketing online because I'd been spending like the last however many years building the youth group, like Instagram account. And there's something about trying to get a teenager to come to church on a Friday night where there's a little bit of marketing involved, right? It's like, hey, I know there's tons of options out there.
Involved in
that. Yeah, dude. Yeah. So like, I wasn't a pro by any means, but I developed some skills. And so in that first month, I signed 6 clients. And I signed 6 clients because it was just lots of people that knew in-person Dan. Like no online marketing brought those 6 clients. They were like people from my gym, people from my church,
anyone you knew.
Anyone. And my business model at that point was doing everything for everyone. Like, so I was coaching a real estate agent how to do a social media. I was coaching a personal trainer of how to get clients through his Instagram. I managed the social media for our local grocery store. I was running Facebook ads for a vehicle financing place. And the last one, and I was building a website for like a construction company. So literally like anytime I talked to anyone about digital marketing challenges, I was like, I can totally do it. And then I would just go and jump into these courses that I'd threw on a credit card or spend hours on YouTube figuring it out. And so over the years that evolved and that changed to where, do you want me to keep rolling with the story?
I love this, man. This is great. I mean, think about where people are starting out, like hearing your story and how, like, the fact that you were a generalist. Everyone can relate with that. So many people can relate when their first business, whether they're 16 or 30 or even older, like they think the more I do, the more money I'm going to make, right? But the reality is the less you do and the better you are at it, which we'll talk about, is the more money you'll make, right? So yeah, continue with the story. I love it.
Yeah, well, exactly that. When you get started, there's kind of 2 ways to think about it, right? And I think everyone is familiar with the idea of niching down. And I think that's really valuable advice. The problem is in the beginning, you don't know who you want to work with. You don't really know who's going to benefit most from your skill set or whether you even have any skills. So I really like going general in the beginning. When I'm working with anyone, I'm like, just try some, just throw some stuff at a wall and see kind of what works, what resonates, what makes money. And so over time, that evolved into, like, there's a few stages. I'll just go through them really quickly. I was doing that for 9 months, and it was making between $10,000 and $20,000 a month, which, you know, from my salary previously of, like, I think it peaked at $50,000 a year. You know, that was really good money, and I was really public about talking about some of the things I was doing, and so the inevitable guru curve started happening where it's like, hey, can you teach me to do what you do? And so, like, I got enough of those requests that I started something called the 6-figure side hustle. And so this was early 2019. I started an online course, 999 or 997, something like that. And it's helping people start an agency like I had done on the side, you know, kind of growing that to 6 figures. And so that did really well. I think we had, you know, probably 150 people join in a few months. So it was working really well. But there was some big flaws with that model, right? It's like someone pays you $1,000, and it was like lifetime access. Like, I'm going to support. So I'm like 6 months down the track, this guy paid, you know, $1,000 6 months ago. I'm still hustling to get the next person to pay me $1,000. Yeah. And so there was amazing things I learned, but like it was lacking recurring revenue, was lacking stability. I was in hustle and push mode all the time. Yeah. And so in June of 2019, I was like, okay, I'm going to restart this agency, and I'm going to try this niching thing and really focus and systemize and all of that. And so that's what I did. June of 2019, I started that. And the people that over my little time of, you know, doing the agency that I enjoyed working with the most were coaches and consultants, people that were experts that were wanting to figure out how to get more clients online. And so that's what our agency did. We specialized in Facebook ads, and we went even further than that. It was like Facebook ads for coaches who are wanting more sales calls using webinar funnels, right? So we really niched down. Yeah, we really, niche. I never know it. Yeah. And so that went from, you know, 0 in June to, I think we hit 50K in October. Wow. And then we hit $100,000 a month in February. So it was like a really fast trajectory. And most of that was referrals. We're a part of this amazing community with this guy called Taki Moore and organic content. So we grew that to $100,000 a month. And that's when really I started connecting with people in the industry. So I'm sure you're familiar with Iman Gadzi. So around that time, you know, I become friends with Iman, and I get interviewed on his channel. And so I'm getting this identity built up as a 7-figure agency owner. Now, inside, I was like, this isn't the work I want to do. Like, this isn't the work I love doing, but it's paying the bills and it's creating recognition. And so I just kept going with this. Now, quick backstory. In April of 2018, right when I started, I wrote down exactly what I wanted my business to look like. And it's much like what it looks like now. I wrote down, I want to like shoot videos, create content for YouTube, have a podcast. I want to coach people. I literally said, I do not want to build a 7-figure agency. I wrote that in 2018. Fast forward like 2 years, I'm running a 7-figure agency, and you know, all my worst nightmares are coming true. I'm like, dude, I'm known for Facebook ads, but I'm getting bored of talking about Facebook ads. And as the universe would have it, COVID hit. Our business grew during that time. And so I was being like further and further bogged down into this work. Well, in June of 2020, right, a few months after the first wave of COVID hit, our Facebook ads account gets hacked by some guy in Vietnam who hacked through a team member's Facebook profile. And so me and my teammate one night are just sitting there having a beer, watching this guy lock us out of every client ad account as he spends tens of thousands of dollars. And the only way you can look back on it now is laugh, because he was promoting ads, like super skimpy like ads to like fake Calvin Klein undies in Vietnam. So we're sitting there having a beer, just like, haha, this is hilarious, you know? Yeah. And over the next 30 days, between clients we lost, we had to reimburse ad spend. It cost me $100,000 cash. And that was a real big gift, because it really made me consider, like, is this the work I want to be doing, or is this something else? Because this is hard, and either it's worth going through the hard and the risk of maybe this happens again. But this was the moment where I had to go back to that note I wrote on my phone where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to coach. I want to do this. And so in July, we launched basically a program for people that couldn't afford our agency services. And we taught them what we knew. And then that evolved beyond ads, and then we're teaching organic, and that became like a full-fledged coaching program. So we were running these two things in tandem for a while. Agency, coaching program, you know, like agency was the cash cow, kind of keeping everything afloat. coaching was the passion. And over the next 16 months, we grew that coaching business from 0 to, I think we hit a 347,000 cash month 16 months later. And that was in 2021. And I had created a better version of business, but I was still out of alignment with what I really wanted. Because when I wrote that first note in 2018, it was like, I'm going to spend my time creating, coaching, basically like flexibility and freedom.
Right.
What I created in 2021 was like, it was a coaching business, but I was working crazy hours. We had a team of 13 people. We had, I think it was 150 clients. It was intense, man. And it culminated on one particular day where, like, up until that point, that year I'd worked with Alex Hormozi one-to-one. I met Sam Ovens, which was a full circle moment for me. And I got multiple awards and getting recognition. So it was that same reinforcement of like, nothing, it doesn't feel good on the inside, but on the outside, like everyone's saying like, good job, Dan. But I have this day where I'm on so many calls back to back to back to back that I'm on a Zoom call. And without the attendees on the Zoom call, like noticing and realizing, I have to pee in a bottle underneath the desk. And that was, it could have just been like this is embarrassing and I hope no one finds out. But it was this moment of like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because in the background of the successful business, you know, I bought a beautiful Tesla and I bought a house and, you know, starting to travel. I'd felt so misaligned where I was like spending time managing people and it was constantly like push. It was this evaluation of like, dude, am I on the right path? And I didn't know what I wanted at that stage really clearly. All I knew was what I didn't want, right? So end of 2021 comes around. I let go of a bunch of the team. I go from a team of 13 down to a team of 4. We turn off marketing and sales for like 8 months, literally no new clients. And I start working 8 to 12 hours a week because I'm like, I don't know what I want. I just know what I don't want. So I basically put myself in like an eat, pray, love journey. So I went to LA, went to Mexico, went to London, went to Paris. I think we did 11 countries in 2022. And something really annoying and fascinating happened. In 2021, we did 2 million cash with a team of 13. In 2022, we did 2 million cash with a team of 4. And I was like, man, something feels odd. Like I'm like, the less I'm working, the more I'm simplifying business. I'm making the same amount of money. I'm increasing my profit margins and life is getting better. Circle to end of 2022. And I'm about to land the plane on the story. I let go of all the remaining team members. I basically killed the existing program because at that point we were offering guarantees and there was still so much complexity in it. And I had these weird clients, amazing clients that had been paying me just for my time. And one day, one of my coaches sees this invoice come in and it's $20,000 for 8 hours of work. And he's like, what's this? And I'm like, oh, there's this company that pays me, you know, $2,500 an hour to coach their people. And yeah. And he's like, right. So why don't you just do more of that? And it was like one of those conversations that I could have just brushed past, but I was like, yeah. So like at this point I was selling a program that had none of me. Like we had coaches and support team. And then here was this person on the other side that was just like paying me for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, what if I just built my business and just got rid of everyone and just made it about me? And for content, like at that point we'd had setters and closers, but I was like, what if I just create content and just try and help people? And then for coaching, instead of having a fancy program, why don't I just give them access to me and give them access in a group environment or one-to-one environment? And that's exactly what I did. And so in the start of 2023, I let everyone go except me and a VA. I'll never forget that day because I was like, I only have to keep me and one person alive. This is amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And that kind of is, you know, fast forward the last like 21 months. That's basically been the business is I've really been pioneering, at least for myself, this model I call like the value creator way, which is like, how do you build a business around your skill set, your specialization, where people pay for proximity to you? So rather than having to offer something with all the bells and whistles where like, you know, you think about this for a second, it's like someone comes through a funnel and you're the person doing the video and you're like, I can change your life, whatever it might be. They jump on a sales call with, you know, Jack. And Jack's like, yeah, we can change your life. Like, you're going to join this program, and, it's this much money, and you get to work with Sarah. And everyone's like, who's Sarah? It's like, Sarah's the amazing coach, right? And
Who I've never met.
I know, and there's all this friction. And so everything got simpler for me around, I was like, I'm the business. Like, I'm the product, and I'm productizing myself. And so the last 21 months has been really interesting because I have found a lot of people that are the version of 2021 Dan. Maybe they don't have the team of 13. Maybe they're all getting started, but they can see that that's like the model that is given by most people. The hustle, the grind, the do whatever it takes, not stopping at nothing short of drinking the blood of your enemies, right? And I've kind of carved out this little space for me where I'm really good at working with people who put their life first and build their business around their life, not their life around their business. And so that's kind of the journey of how I got there and kind of what I'm most focused on and what I'm kind of known for these days.
Dude, it's incredible to hear your story, because I think especially nowadays, so many people are reevaluating like what success means. Is it the Lamborghini, or is it spending time with their family? Is it the beach house, or is it just having enough to feel safe and not worry about the bills, or retiring your parents? And so you sharing that story really cements what a lot of people listening and watching this right now, or what they truly desire, is that freedom to have options and do what they want. So how many clients do you have right now?
Between our lowest tiers and our highest tiers is about 170.
And what are you making like per month, per year in that business?
That's a great question. Obviously we're early in this month, so I'll talk about last month. Last month we did 163,000 cash. And what's really interesting about that is I shrunk my business. So it wasn't like I replicated what I was doing at 300 and, almost 50,000 a month, and then I could just do it by myself. In many ways, it's like I shrunk it by 50%, but I increased the profit margins and decreased the hours. And so, last month was probably around 90% profit and no stress. And so that's the really big key for me, is like, I think my skill set and kind of what I've been really working on is not how much money I can make, but the ease with which I can make it. And I think it's a really underrated like metric for people to think about. Is it's one thing to like a good friend of mine shared his numbers of last month in his business. He wakes up at 3 a.m. every morning, works 12 to 15 hour days. He has a business partner. He did $900,000 cash collected last month. Then after expenses, I think that they together took home about 300, right? And then you split that with the business partner, and him and I made the same amount of money. Now, that's not to diminish. His goals might be completely different to mine. 100%. Right? And so you've always got to optimize for what you're optimizing for. But if you're, let's say, for like most people, optimizing for freedom, for enjoyment, for working with amazing clients, for making, taking home great money, there are a lot more simple ways to do it than what most people would subscribe to, which is like, if I just send 100 cold DMs a day and I'm like putting 200 engagement like comments a day on X, those things can work. But it does come down to like, what are you optimizing for? Is it the amount of money? Is it the amount of clients? Is it the size of your team? Because all these things can, like, the ego can really cloud people's judgment, where it's like, I think I'm succeeding. I don't know if it's my version of success, but it's someone's version of success, because I'm getting virtual high fives and I'm getting recognized. And I think the game for most people is to figure out the thing you want to win at, the version of success that most lights you up, that is most inspiring, that helps you become the version of the person that you've always dreamed of becoming. And I think for most people, they aren't aware of what that is. They don't have that clarity, or they're ignoring it. I don't think most people's version of success is living in a constant state of stress, which is how most entrepreneurs, that's what they tolerate. That's what they accept. That's what they assume is normal.
I can't remember who said this, but someone said, I'm going to butcher the quote, but they said that as entrepreneurs, we love to complicate things. And actually, it's extremely difficult to simplify things. And if you've ever written a book or read a really, really good book, like, they simplify complex things and just make it so easy. But it's that process that you're describing is very difficult, right? It took you years to go from the generalist doing everything for everyone to where you are now, making a lot of money on what we call easy mode, right? Which is just a way of saying living the life that you want to live, right? So for a coach or a consultant or entrepreneur that wants that dream life, right? They see it, they envision it, that's what they are, but they're stuck. They don't know where to start. They don't know. They have a business. They're in that grind. They're working more hours than you, but yet they're not where they want to be. Where would you help them? Where would you start in their journey to getting to where you are now?
Well, I think the key is not even so much getting to where I am, it's getting to where they want to be. And that's the challenge is I think most people do not create space and silence and stillness enough to cultivate that clarity. Where do I want to go? Because I'll give you an example. I have a great friend, someone who's become a great friend this year, a guy called William Brown. And on the surface, he came to my event in Bali. He was the only dude I was worried about because I knew everyone else's vibe, but this guy was coming from Dubai. And I'm like, I like Dubai, but that can also attract a certain type of person. And so I was like, I don't know if this guy is going to vibe with me. I don't know what but he paid to come to this event. And we're sitting down and his business does really well. It does $250,000 to $300,000 a month and he works 70 hours a week. But as we were talking, it was really interesting how much synergy there was because he was doing everything not out of obligation, but out of passion. He works 70 hours a week because he's at a stage of life. He's not married. He doesn't have kids and he doesn't want to go out and play the Dubai game. So he is doing exactly what he wants to do. And so for me, that's winning. Like, it's not like working 12 hours a week doing an eat, pray, love journey like Dan. Like I'm in a different season of life. Like I got young kids. We just took them out of school. And so there's different dynamics at play. For me, I think it's about people creating that sense of freedom. And I was listening to, you familiar with that, like the app Telegram?
Yeah.
There was this amazing interview that really struck me a few months ago where Tucker Carlson was interviewing the founder of Telegram, a guy called Pavel Durov.
Oh, cool.
And so I don't know the valuation of it, but they have almost 1 billion users and the valuation's in the tens of billions. And he's the 100% owner of Telegram.
Wow. And
Tucker was like trying to figure this guy's vibe out because he's very different. Like not only that, but it's like, I think Telegram's team is like 30 people for like a $30-40 billion company. Like it doesn't make sense. And he was like, so do you own anything? And Pavel's like, no. And Tucker's like, not even a house or a jet or an island. And Pavel's like, I don't want money. I want freedom. And when he said that, it was like he was speaking to my soul. And I think for many people, they conflate these two ideas that if I have more money, I'll have more freedom. But some of the people I know of personally that have tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions in net worth, are some of the most trapped, imprisoned people, whether it's emotionally because they're constantly thinking about that, or whether they're in a business that requires them 24/7. There's no freedom there, right? The freedom that most people conflate with like, if I get to X in my business or more money, then I'm going to feel free. But the imprisonment starts here.
Right.
It's getting clear on today, what does our version of success look like? What does freedom look like? And so for everyone, that's different. Every season of life is different, stage of life. But it's figuring out like, if you had all of the money in the world, you could never make another dollar in your life. What would you be giving your time to now? And that's such a simple exercise, but that will help you uncover more of your core identity than almost anything else. Like what's the stuff you would do for free that you feel lit up about, that you feel passionate about? That whole idea of the perfect day exercise. If you had to live this day out for the rest of your life on repeat, if you ever deviated from it once, the world would explode. What would that day be? And for most people, getting to their version of success, kind of where I am now, but their version of that, starts with the clarity around what do I not want? What does my version of failure look like? Okay, well, if I'm making amazing money, but I'm drinking every night and I'm not present with my family, okay, failure, right? And that was my version in 2021, 2020.
Peeing in a bottle,
right? Now, let's write that down.
Freedom to not pee in a bottle.
Right. And so people getting clear on their version of failure, I think is so key because you can reverse engineer. Okay, for me, I value being present with my kids. And the clearer you get on this, the more that you'll start to see, okay, this is what that blueprint of freedom looks like for me. For some people, it's like being nomadic. Like we are very nomadic. I was just telling you like where I've been and where I'm going in the next month, right?
Yeah.
Some people some people's core identity is not that. They love a simple life. And it's like, dude, if I can take 2 to 3 vacations a year, that's a win, which is fantastic. So it's like getting clear on that is the first step. And then I think in that, it's creating standards of what you're not willing to do. So like for me, there's so many options at this stage with the size of my audience, which is not big, but it's engaged, and business where I say no to making money all the time because it conflicts with values and standards that I set for myself. So for example, 2 years ago, I made the decision, I do no more sales calls. I don't care if the deal is a potential $100,000. We are doing it in the DMs or we're doing it not at all. Now, not everyone might be able to create that standard, but if they can get clear on it, that's what they're moving towards.
Right.
And I think the clearer you can get on your standards, your non-negotiables, your values, firstly, the better chance you're going to get of reaching in the first place. But secondly, in the coaching consulting game, that is what helps you attract the right people. Your dream clients are similar to you in values, right? Like this analogy works perfectly for Americans. It's like you're a Republican, you love Trump. Imagine a coaching program where everyone worships Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Barack Obama, right? And it's a visceral feeling that people can get because they're like, oh, those people would be so different to me.
100%.
Now, that politics is not in my DNA. Like I have a broad spectrum of people in my group. But what I'm saying is your dream clients are not just in a niche that have a problem that you can solve that can pay you. They're people that are fun and enjoyable to work with, the types of people that you would spend your day off with. Until you're clear on your convictions and your values and your standards and you live it out, you will never attract your dream clients because firstly, you won't even know who they are if they came across your path. You wouldn't recognize them. And secondly, they would never recognize you. And there's this a really big truth. I think it's a quote by Wayne Dyer. It says, you do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. And that's very true when it comes to like building a business is you will never attract the types of clients that you want if there's a disconnect between who you are and who they are, right? Whether it's a level of confidence or a personality or a value. So I think like systematically going, what are my convictions? What am I passionate about? What are my non-negotiables? Now, you might not have the opportunity and the freedom to do that today.
Right.
But if you can get clear on those things and go, okay, right now I'm in a season where I'm doing stuff I don't want to do to move myself towards that, not with some arbitrary, like once I hit 10 million in my bank, then I'm going to like go to the Bahamas. It's like, no. Book the trip to Bahamas like 6 months from now. But make sure that you are actively moving and creating that lifestyle for yourself, starting with the point of clarity of who am I? What's my core identity? What am I wired, passionate, fired up to do?
I love that because we hear so often when we go on YouTube, it's always, how do I make 10K? How do I make 100K? It's always tactics. It's always the technical how-to. And what you're actually saying is taking a step back and going inwards and looking at what your heart and your head, what you actually want. Because if I'm following someone else's, some guru's path, then I'm following their path. I'm not creating my own. And so I love the story that you're taking us through and the lessons. And that's the first step is actually look inward. And something that I can relate with too, because I'm always like, I find like the days I'm the most productive, I'm the most clear, right? On what I need to do. It's like all of a sudden the productivity hacks don't matter because it's just like this day went by so fast because I just know exactly what I need to do. But you mentioned something in your story that you had the standard to not take sales calls. I think everyone listening and watching this right now is like, how in the hell do you sell without talking to the person? I think that's a very, very unique thing that you are very skilled at. And it comes from your content. So I'd love to hear about your process and your methodology for creating content that attracts this dream client, this person that you'd want to be friends with, right? Can you maybe walk us through?
Yeah, for sure. So like the misconception with selling in the DMs is that there's like a secret script that gets people to hand you over thousands of dollars, like, or replicating a whole sales call. I remember talking to someone and he's like, dude, I'm closing the DMs. It's great. The voice memos are a bit annoying. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, like going back and forth, like asking them questions and they answer the questions. And basically he was spending a few hours sending voice notes instead of spending 30 minutes on a call. And I was like, oh, you don't understand. I don't do any selling in the DMs. I sell in my marketing. And so where this started for me was in 2019 with this 997 program that I had, that was all through the DMs. And so we all have the awareness that there's a price point that you can sell without jumping on a call. Many of us have bought those things, the $7 ebook, the $97 course, whatever it might be. And so I got 150 students into this program with like a DM funnel where it was like, people came from a Facebook ad to a Facebook group. And in the Facebook group, there was like a mini webinar, and then the call to action was DM me, and then I'd send them like a short PDF. And if I just played the numbers game and got enough people through, like it crushed. It worked really, really well.
Yeah.
But I had this belief that that started and ended with that price point. Oh, it works for $1,000 thing, but we sell a $5,000 thing. We sell a $10,000 thing. And so last year I was just like, I'm just going to try this out. And I had a number of people that had been in my world and vicinity for a while and following some stuff. So there was a lot of pre-selling that had already taken place. So I put it all in like this Notion doc, really basic, and I got some sales, and I was like, oh, damn. Right. But then of course it's like that group of people runs out. Like, how do I get more of those people? So this is where I started kind of just testing out YouTube and things like that. And like in the beginning, it was like, if I just put YouTube videos out that are helpful, it will work. But over time, I really refined a strategy, and there were a couple of key pieces to it. The first was like, there's this amazing framework from Aristotle on the 3 pillars of influence. And so Aristotle talks about the three pillars is ethos, pathos, and logos. And so the first part of this is ethos, is that people have to trust the messenger. Forget the message. Do people trust you? And so the first job that you have to do in your marketing content is people have to get to know you to a point where they trust what you say. Like, no matter what you're selling, there is always going to be a crowd of people that are in disbelief. Is this going to work for me? It doesn't matter whether you are selling like how to get more members for your gym, or I can help you with video content, or I can help you start a coaching business. There's always going to be a disbelief of like, is this a scam? How does it work? You know, how do I know you're legit? And so ethos is such a key piece where like people need to identify key parts of their story that they continually intertwine in all of their content. It's not just one piece of content, though I'll talk about that in a second. It is throughout, whether you're focused on Instagram, YouTube, email, X, it's sharing enough of your personality. And one of my original mentors and really good friends, Taki Moore, he says, people don't buy coaching, they buy coaches. And when you understand that, you go, oh, I need to let myself be authentic. I need to really create a connection between who I am offline, the person that if someone sat down with me for a coffee, they would experience, and how do I bring that person online? This isn't the mirage of who we are. This is like the real authentic us. And this doesn't mean we turn our content into a journal, right? Where we're like, I'm struggling with this today and I just had this for lunch. But it's about like your core convictions, your personality, your values, your hobbies. Are you married? Are you not married? Do you have kids? Like
the things that connect us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to understand this is just think about the people that you most admire, the people's content who you consume. Like think about a Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan doesn't make sense in so many different ways. Biggest podcast in the world, crazy long podcasts, MMA fighter, UFC host, Fear Factor host.
Yeah. Like what's his niche?
Exactly. And so the reason that people resonate with his content is because they resonate with him. Like he is not afraid to be on a podcast and ask the really dumb questions that all of us are wondering, right? And so he lets him, like you never listen to a Joe Rogan episode and go, man, this guy is fake. Like he is 100% himself. So point number one, in all of your content, you need to be bringing that out. Core stories, personality, and not trying to be anyone you're not, right? You want to move away from being an echo, which is the version of yourself that's just trying to be like your 10 favorite influencers, and really develop that voice, really develop that sense of uniqueness and authenticity. The second thing is pathos. And in this context, like how I talk about that is we all have a unique edge or a unique kind of mechanism that we're trying to teach. And so, you know, a huge one these days is like school memberships, right? When I first got started, it was like we had this unique way of doing Facebook ads. And so the first question that people ask in your content, and if they're thinking about working with you, is like, can I trust this person? The second thing is like, how do I know this would work for me? Right? So you have a mechanism. You're like, we taught Facebook groups for years. So we realized if someone jumped on a sales call and they were still trying to figure out if a Facebook group was for them, that call was going to be long and hard and result in like multiple follow-ups and a lot of like, let me think about it, because that person's not sold on what we teach. That person's not sold on the mechanism, the method, the model. And so pathos is really about people understanding how this is a new opportunity. Russell Brunson talks about in The Expert Secret. It's like you're a charismatic leader, it's ethos, with a new opportunity. So you go, this is the old way. The old way is this. This is all the frustrations you're probably feeling. But this is the new way. So if you think about like nutrition, no one wants to be told they need to eat less and move more. Right? That's the old way. Now, you don't reinvent the wheel, but like when people talk about their new way, like there's guys like Gary Brecker, I'm trying to think of the health space. There's so many different people, right?
Yeah.
They're
Tons.
always packaging like a new way to think about it. Like, did you
New
know
way
that?
to lose weight.
Yeah. It's not that you're eating too many calories. It's that your metabolism is damaged. And so if we get to the root and we fix your metabolism, you fix your hormones. And if you fix your hormones, you fix your thyroid. And if you fix your thyroid, you know, your body will deal differently with sugars and fats and carbs and things like that. And you will lose weight more effortlessly. Interesting. So now people need to understand how that works and how that would work for them. And how that will deal with the fact that they've tried everything and it hasn't worked. And now can get great results. And then the last part is logos. So how does this work? If we were going to work together, like how does this thing work? So what my focus is in my content is ethos and pathos. It's me and it's what I teach. And what I teach is, I call it the value creator way, right? And then a year from now, 2 years from now, that might evolve because I might learn different things and integrate different parts of the mechanism. And so the simple way to understand it is strong marketing equals easy sales. And that's when you can sell in the DMs. Weak marketing equals hard sales. That's where you're in the DMs and you're like, please buy from me. And you're getting ghosted and you're following people up. And like, I think in the last 18 months, I've closed probably 250 people through the DMs or through like a basic sales page or through a Notion doc with no sales calls, never dealing with objections ever, because I focus specifically on the strength of my marketing.
It's so crazy you say that, because before I started my agency, in my past life, I always say I was a sales rep, as an account executive, and I worked for a big software company called SAP. And oftentimes a sales cycle would be like 3 months, 6 months, even a year. And it was always because of this thing that you're talking about, that strong marketing equals easy sales, weak marketing equals harder sales. I spent a year to sell one thing to one company, when if they just actually had better marketing, that sales process, and high ticket software, like big complex software ERP systems. And so I really, really resonate with that message. And so if I want to now, okay, I understand the ethos, I have to understand the pathos, I have to talk about who I am, share more of my values, I talk about the unique mechanism, the new opportunity. Like, now you create content in a very unique way. It's not fancy bells and whistles. Like right now we're in a studio, which is pretty epic, but your day-to-day content is like iPhone, MacBook, webcam. So walk us through, like, a lot of people believe that they need this in order to sell. They need this level when this is not necessarily needed, but it's a nice to have. But walk us through how you are creating content through your day-to-day and bringing these people and showing who you are, showing your unique mechanism, and walk us through that process.
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying this is what works for me. And I think the key is that everything works, right? There are people that do have heavily edited videos and they're on 27 platforms and they've got the team and they're making money. And so like, I could never say like, this is the right way, but this is what works for me. And so when I started really taking content seriously, it was in 2022. So before that, the most I ever did in content was like, I would post on my Facebook profile really haphazardly. I would have a Facebook group of like 6,000 people and so do regular trainings in there. But content was like, it was bare minimum effort. It was like, what do I have to do this week to generate leads for my appointment setters to send messages? And because of that, weak marketing equals hard sales. So it was like, we had appointment setters like sending messages all day and salespeople doing 1, 2, 3 call closes. And so at the end of 2022, I was like, I really want to go back to the note I wrote in 2018. And I was like, I just want to create content for the fun of creating content. And so I did what most people assume to do. I was like, I'm in a studio, had got an editor. And so I had a video editor based out of the Ukraine, and he was good. And then I was like, I'm gonna take it to the next level. And I got a content manager that then managed the editor. And I started building out this team to the point where at some point I was paying like $21,000 a month to like, I'm getting reels and thumbnails. And it got to a point where like someone messaged me and they said, oh, you've stopped posting on YouTube. And I realized I hadn't posted in 2 months because I had 20 videos that I hadn't reviewed from the team. And I looked at like the content review channel. And every time I looked at that, I just like got like I just didn't want to do it. There was so much resistance. I would like look at the video and I was like, oh, I liked the video that I shot, but now that you've added like animations and text and like this is misspelled and this doesn't represent and this video title sucks, we would be in this loop of like reviewing, and I was like, this is this is crazy. And so one day I was just sitting there and I was like, what would be the easiest version of this for me? And I was like, it would be I shoot a video on my phone. I come up with the title then, or typically I come up with the title before I even shoot the video. And then I hit upload in that moment. And I upload it to one platform. And I'm not trying to be omnipresent, and like that's what I'm going to do. And so I've been doing that for probably about a year, and it's worked really well. And again, it's not to say that there's a secret hack. Like I think people think in terms of like secret like magic pills, like oh, what's trending right now is no thumbnail, but you can still find like the biggest YouTubers in the space. They do thumbnails and they do editing, like everything works. But for me, I realized I just no longer wanted to build my business around any level of obligation. I don't want to do this because I think I have to. I only want to do things that feel fun, that feel frictionless, and that feel like a sense of ease to it. And so in the last year, I've been like, okay, I went from posting on X and YouTube Shorts, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do Instagram, and I'm going to post when I feel like it, which is sometimes 5 times in a week and sometimes nothing for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to post on YouTube when I feel like it about stuff that I feel like posting. And one of the things that I think I've really realized is, I have this idea of becoming energetically attractive. One of the things that happened for me at the start of last year was I really consciously made a decision of like, I'm no longer going to live from the energy of I need people to say yes to working with me, or for current clients, I need them to stay. I'm just going to release everybody. And that was both a one-time decision and like I've got work to do. Like every time you thought someone was going to sign up and they didn't, you have the emotional reaction. But I'm like, I need to detach from this. And so when I used to create content, it was like, I need to generate leads, right? I'm doing this to make money. And then I just changed my attitude towards it, which is like, I'm going to create the content I want to create. I'm going to create the content that someone I wish had created when I was coming up and I could watch. And I'm going to do it in such a way that I'm literally doing it for the love of the game. And when you do that, people can feel you don't need anything from them. So like whether that video makes money or doesn't make money, not even that I track that, but I was like, I just don't care. Like I trust that if I simply try to help people and I serve them, and there is still a funnel, right? There's still like the next step to take in Dan's world. There's an ebook that leads to like a mini webinar, and then there's a clear call to action to send me a DM. So it's not like I don't have strategy, but I don't have desperate energy anymore. And the irony was when I made that decision, getting clients became way easier because I didn't need them anymore. So when I was in the DMs with someone, I was like, I don't need you to sign up. And so they're like, why should I pick you over XYZ? And I'm like, I don't know. You should just trust your gut. Like just go with whatever you feel to do. Like and literally people would go, oh, like I'm in. Like they would sell themselves because they realized I wasn't going to sell them. And so that bleeding into content, that energetic attractiveness, I think people are so used to being manipulated. They're so used to things being fake scarcity and urgency that if I look back at all of my YouTube videos, I only have one YouTube video out of probably the couple of hundred that are there that has a call to action. And that's my mini webinar. Everything else, nowhere in a video do I tell someone to message me, to go through a funnel, to download something. It's all just me sharing stuff that I think would be helpful. And so I by no means have the biggest channel or anything like that. I'm not a YouTube growth expert, but when I upload a video these days, it gets about 1,000 views in the first day or two. And when I picture 1,000 people, what that size of a room would look like, you do not need that many people within that 1,000 people to be interested in wanting to take next steps with you. And if you just do that consistently, and you keep honing your craft, you keep sharpening like that specialization of how you talk about your messaging, how you talk about your stories, you naturally get better. The quality of your videos get better. They get pushed further. The people that have been watching for 6 months, they hear your message in a fresh way. It resonates at a deeper level. And that's just what I focus on for content, is like, there might be a time where I rebuild a team, and I'm not opposed to any of that. But right now I'm optimizing for simplicity and flow and ease. So I focus in on one channel with Instagram, and then I just post YouTube videos whenever I want, and then I promote that on Instagram.
How many views are you getting?
So about 1,000 in the first day or two, but it will range. Like some will get 800, some will get like I posted one a few weeks ago that got 6,000. For me, it's always about audience like depth, never about width. Like I have clients that have 2 million subscribers on YouTube and they make less money. So it's never about how many subscribers you have. It's always about the depth of connection that people have. Like there are people that I remember hearing this story years ago of a TikToker that had 1 million followers on TikTok and then they decided to do a meetup and 0 people came to that meetup. And I don't think it's because those followers are not real. It's because the depth of connection just isn't there. And I think this kind of speaks to this idea of long form content. There's something about long form content that is so much more powerful than short form content. If you think about, like, I followed people on like Instagram Reels. I couldn't even tell you their name, but I've watched like 20 Reels over a year. And I'm like, I've spent 20 minutes with them total. And so one of the things, I think there was a study done, but I've also found this anecdotally, that trust is built not through chronology, where it's not like a linear, like someone has to follow you for 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months in order to be ready to buy. That's irrelevant. I've had people come through, not know me, 24 hours later, pay me 16 grand or 20 grand, right? And it is about hours of content consumed. So there was a magic number that I don't pay too much attention to this, but apparently there was a study where it's something like 7 hours of content consumed.
Yeah, 7 hours across 11 touch points in 4 locations by Google.
So so that sounds true. So I don't pay attention to that in the sense of I need to figure out how to get people to 7. I go, if I can just create a library of content that people want to binge, then I'm imagining sales is going to become easier for me. And so that was the phenomenon that I found with YouTube specifically. Way more, like I did reels every day. I did 2 reels a day for months and months and months. I didn't see any lift in business whatsoever. In fact, my engagement went down. And I would look at my page and go, I don't even like this. Like the quality, I was going for volume, like the quality of the stuff I'm putting out, and feel like I'm proud of it. But when I focus on long form content, I would have people be like, I just did a 5-hour road trip and just binged a bunch of your YouTube videos. Like, tell me about working with you. But I'm like, they just binged 5 hours of content without a single call to action. And the natural response was, I need to reach out to Dan to see if he can help me grow my business. And so if people can build their business around some kind of long form content, whether it's long form written or video or audio, the thing that works best for them, it makes getting clients so much easier, as opposed to the mentality I had for years, which is, how do I do the least to then get people into a sales conversation? And that's where you typically have to spend stacks of time convincing someone, stacks of time, dealing with your objections. And then also on the other side of that, that person might not even be sold and they ask for a refund or they cancel 5 minutes into it. When I focus on strong marketing, when I focus on long form content, I attracted amazing people that, like I just did a podcast earlier today with someone who's been working with me for 5 years, right? Wow. But that person is retained because they also consume my long form content. Like it's such a funny like cycle how it's like people will literally be like the video you just released is amazing. And I'm like, but you pay me to get secret content and you're still watching the free content. It's just hilarious how it works. Investing in like content and a library of like that demonstration of ethos and pathos is really how you pre-sell people.
It's incredible. I love how it aligns with your clarity, right? Going back to like, you want things simpler, like simple, you want to live a life of freedom, and you can make things complex and add all those things if that works, and that if that aligns with your vision and your clarity and what you want, right? But how do you make things easier? And that's why I love tools like AI that are coming in and helping us, repurpose some of this content. Like I'll be using AI with this podcast, not to edit it for me, but to help me with the heavy lifting. Like I'm going to go back and watch this over, and it can help find the moments and share things. So by creating long form content, it's kind of like a more leverage, I find. You can create more with your time. So spending an hour here with me on this podcast, you're not only creating YouTube content, you're also creating short form content. So you still are like, that leverage is there, right?
Yeah. Or you spend an hour sending 100 cold DMs.
Yeah. I mean, what's better?
But it's like, it's a really important point, which is, are you focusing on things that have an evergreen lasting effect? And so I think most people, when I'm looking over the shoulder of clients coming in, it's like they're busy and not productive. And so when I've reduced the amount of hours I work, it's because the things I'm working on are so critical that I can sustain a business at multiple 7 figures working so few hours, because I'm doing work only I can do. I'm not doing work that AI can do. I'm not doing work that can be done by a $7 an hour VA. I'm doing really critical work. I'm building assets. I'm creating leverage. I'm building systems and process. And I think that's how you really level up, is not in as just a strategy. You're not just one funnel away. It is in the way that you think. And I've seen this time and time again where it's like successful people really think about how they allocate time differently. They did a study a number of years ago where it was like the most successful CEOs spend 1 day a week thinking about how they're going to spend the next 4. Right? But that's counterintuitive to most people. They wake up and they're clicking around 27 tabs and they're like listening to the 17th podcast of the week and they're wondering why they're not growing. And it's because they're not working on the right stuff. So it's far less important how much you work and far more important on what you're working on.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of the school game winners. And school is a platform people, build communities on, and there's a competition where people try to make the most amount of money in a month and you win the games. And I have an opportunity to do podcasts like this with them and share their stories. And a lot of them talk about this concept of, it's like, we all have the same amount of time. So what you do in that time determines where you will be at the end of that month, year, in that lifetime, right? And so it's all based on the decisions that you make, and you are only working, I'm guessing 3-4 hours, really like working 3-4 hours a day, X amount of days a week, and you're getting far more done than someone working 16 hours a day with 27 tabs and 17 podcasts down that week, right? So it's amazing how focus, really where your focus goes, energy flows and results come out of that, right?
Well, I think one more important element of this is skill. Right? So it's like, it's one thing, and this is, it's like it's not a paradox, but it's like nuance, because it's, can you have focus and simplicity? But if you're like 5 minutes into the game, your YouTube video likely won't outperform my YouTube video in terms of revenue made. And it's not because I'm awesome and you're not. It's because I started public speaking when I was 16. And during my years at church, I spoke on stage giving different messages of like 30 to 45 to an hour, 500 times. And now, and only now, this is might sound funny, I think only now am I hitting my stride with videos. Where I'm like, maybe thousands of hours deep into videos, because not YouTube specifically, I was running workshops for years.
Right.
So I've done thousands of hours of one-to-one coaching and group coaching, and only now am I going, I think I'm finding my voice more as a content creator. And so people really underestimate the amount of volume it takes to build skill. But the key is not in just a bunch of random haphazard work and like, let's hustle a phase for fun. It's that idea of like, if you created 2 YouTube videos a week for the next year, the 100th YouTube video is going to be exponentially better than the first. So it's not about like just working a ton, or it's not about just going, I'm just going to simplify and focus in on this one particular thing. It's, are you actually intentionally honing your craft? Are you figuring out, okay, this video I just rewatched to myself is so painful because every third word I said and ah and and ah. And I remember that was my first time on stage. I was like, I said like 27 times. I need to like, honing that is the variable, because if I spend an hour on content and someone who's brand new spends an hour on content, that is not an equal result.
For
the
sure.
input does not equal the output. But it's important that you're focused on the skill building activities and the revenue generating activities to begin with. So it starts with focus. It starts with standards. It starts with like ruthless elimination of everything that doesn't matter. And then it's the intentional honing of the skills that produces outsized returns.
You're so right. I mean, I think about my first video. It's laughable. And the videos that I produce now 6 years later. So it's like, people underestimate, like you said, how much volume it takes to really become a master.
Yeah,
right?
but it's like it's not that it's not volume, because I know I said that as well, but it's like intentional volume. Because like one of the biggest crazy phenomenons is like, you can walk into a church, find any, and I'm referencing a church because that was my background. Walk into any church around here, you will find a pastor who has been at that church delivering Sunday messages for 30 years. And you will be falling asleep in the first 5 minutes. So like, many people have such a low standard of what good enough is that it is the intentional honing of the skill of like re-listening. Like all of the first few 100 messages I did, I would re-listen to them Now, I don't do that very much anymore, but there will be times where I'll shoot a video and go, it was 27 minutes, it could have been 19, right? So I'll reshoot the same video. Now, I'm not saying I do that a lot, but the intentional honing of like, am I getting better at my craft? Not just doing more, right? I've met coaches that have coached way more people than me and still suck at coaching because they're not intentionally getting better.
Yeah.
So it is the volume plus intentional skill building that's really the variable that determines what kind of results you get from the work you're doing.
Well, it's like, in any documentary with Michael Jordan or football players, they always review the tape. They always look back at like, hey, you should have zigged when you zagged, right? Or whatever. And it's the criticism, it's the feedback. That's why we want coaches, is to support us and help us and to give us that tough love or to give us that feedback that we may not be able to see, right? So I love that you clarified that. It's so true, right? You don't only just need to do something over and over and over again, but if you're not improving in it, then what's the point, right? So coming back again, do you know how many videos you made on YouTube now? Are you in the...
No, I don't, because the shorts skew it. Like, as in if I look at total, it's like there's a bunch there. It would be less than I think, but there's before YouTube, there was like a few hundred in the Facebook group.
Right.
So there's like hundreds and hundreds that I've made, and then like our curriculum, like I've produced 300 to 400 videos over that time. So I've produced well over 1,000 videos in the last few years. It's only that a small fraction of them are public.
Yeah. So it's like you say a lot of things, and I'm going to reference Mr. Beast. When he talks about YouTube as a platform, he really talks about YouTube is an idea platform, not a video platform. Is that the best ideas win, because it doesn't matter of the production value, it matters of the content value, right? People go like viral off of an iPhone video versus people can have a setup like this and not go viral and get, So I want to know about because YouTube is an idea platform, how do you come up with your content ideas? Like, you're talking about living the essence. You're talking about really knowing your audience really, really well. But I want to get into the mindset of Dan, like, you're like, I'm going to film today, and this is going to film about, how did that idea come about? Did it come from a coaching call? Did it come from, like, do you have a process in mind for ideation? Do you store your ideas? Because people, if we want to win, right, in the sense, right, and get to our destination where we've set clarity around, we have to better our ideas on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. So walk us through your process.
So I think my process is incredibly simple. I've tried all of the different ways to do it. When ChatGPT came out, I was like, I wonder if this will be good. And every idea that came out, I was like, but then I'd have to talk about this, and I don't want to talk about this, or like just because it's going to go viral. I mean, if it would, it would not be enough for me to want to make that video. So I really give a lot of kudos and cred to like Gary Vee's Document, Don't Create, and when Hormozy talks about like say what only you can say. So all my videos are rooted in reality. It's like I've done this, I did this, I'm doing this. A client asked me this is how I deal with it. It's never like theory, right? And I think that's really important because even when I first started in business, I was still referencing things that I had done. Right? Whether it was like the youth group, marketing strategy, or before I started in business, those months leading up to it, I was helping this real estate agent that eventually became a client for free. So then I had a case study, right? And so it's so important that people root their ideas in some kind of proof or reality. So like I was literally about to shoot it today, but I'll probably shoot it tomorrow, of how I've closed this many clients in the DMs, right? I know that video is going to do really well because like no one else can, not no one else, very few people can talk about that through the lens of exactly how I've done it, right? And so it's not so much I'm looking for the best idea. I'm looking for something that I've personally found really helpful or clients have found helpful that I can then share with the world in a bite-sized piece. So like an example would be something that did decently well a few weeks ago was how to create income leaps in your business. And I shot it on the last day of our Bali intensive. We had like, I think it was like 30 people from all around the world at this event. And it reminded me of when I first started in business. I emptied my bank account to go to a mastermind and then to go to a business conference. And I talked about in the video the power of getting in the room. and how like it's so cool being on Zoom and but if you can like get in the room, and I did reference you can get in the room virtually, but if you can get in a room physically, like this is where income leaps happen, where you stretch yourself and you're exposed to bigger thinking. I'll never forget joining a mastermind in 2018 where people were talking about making in a day my old annual salary. And it just like my brain melted at that idea where I was like, I was making $10,000 a month. I thought I was hot shit, you know? And this guy made $50,000 today. And I was like, oh, levels to the game. So I shared that video and it got deep resonance because it was just like, this is on my mind. This is what's coming up for me. This is a lesson that I found really helpful in business. I hope it's helpful for you too. So I don't overemphasize like a hot angle. I'm not ever jumping on trends. I only create things I want to create, but I'm trying to root it in as much reality and as little theory as possible. I never want to talk about something that I have had only a little bit of exposure to. So I did a video a few weeks ago on how I do videos and how I speak on stage and how I prepare to speak, because I've got a lot of experience there.
Right.
And so I'm never thinking or judging an idea based off how many views I think, because if you think about a Mr. Beast, this is where it's so different to creators like us. Mr. Beast puts millions of dollars behind an idea, and he needs this idea to work for the sponsor, for the growth of his channel. Whereas I don't care if the next video I get gets 12 views. This is where the love of the game comes in, where I'm like, I'm not creating for an end in mind. I'm creating for the process. I'm doing this because I love it. And if people find benefit, that's amazing. So like the best part of videos for me is I get to clarify my thinking. I get to communicate my way around an idea. I get to sharpen my beliefs around a certain topic. That's the entire win. And the bonus is it might have business benefit and help some other people.
I love that.
So then practically speaking, sorry to answer your question. So then I just keep a note on my phone of just different ideas. So I have like 30 or 40 any given time, and most of them sound terrible. So I look at them and I go, I need to delete that. I'm not going to do that. But then I'll just like look at the one that feels most alive for me on that particular day. And then I'll sit down, and how I actually flesh it out is I never write notes. I've never been scripted or bullet points. Again, this is what works for me on the back of lots of speaking, is that I'll either do no notes or I'll just have scribbles on an iPad or a piece of paper. And would it be helpful to talk about how I structure them?
Yes, please.
So how I think about it, I got this from someone else and then I adapted it. So I don't know who to give credit to, but there's this 4 words called what, why, how, now. So how I'm able to talk for 30 minutes, pretty engaging without notes, is I just focus on those 4 words. What, why, how, now. So the what is the hook. Why is this important? Today, I'm going to walk you through the exact process that I've used to sell 250 clients between $5,000 and $20,000 each through the DMs with no sales calls. I'm going to walk you through this and this and this, right? And if you're interested in that, you're going to go, oh, I'm in, right? That's the what. Then the why is like, why do people care about this? What's at stake? Why would you consider implementing this in your business? Why would this work versus something else? And that's typically always story-based. So I'll say like, so I'll never forget, I wake up Monday morning, April 16th, it's 2018. I have to borrow my wife's laptop. I'm sitting in a cafe and I'm trying to figure out So I try and bring people to like where I'm at. And then I just walk through the story, and then the story will then relate to the big what, right? And then I uncovered this thing, or I discovered this thing, or I had this conversation, or I, you know, whatever it might be. And then the how is the bulk of the video, right? This is where we kind of get into the strategy, the 3 keys, the 5 pillars, the one main point. And then the now is like, so how do we implement this? What does this look like? What does testing it look like? What does adopting this mindset look like? And then obviously you can include a CTA. But when I'm thinking about my video, I'm just thinking about what section am I in? And so where I have to memorize the most, which is I'm not memorizing anything other than just preparing in my mind, is the how. What are the points I'm going to make? Like, what's the big idea or the big ideas? But it's very important because like when I watch people's videos, like the number one thing I see in people's content, because I get quizzed all day from my clients, from people, dude, my content's not working. Like I'm posting content and it's not getting clients. And I'll go scroll their newsfeed or I'll look at their YouTube. And the one word that's synonymous with most of it is it's just boring. Like whether it's like lack of authenticity or they're saying what someone else could say, it's so boring. And so like the biggest mistake I see people make with content is they are just being a way worse version of someone else. right? So it's like I'm trying to be Mr. Beast. Yeah. Which is normal to model, right? It's normal to like, I haven't found my own voice yet. And so you emulate, and that's totally a normal part of it. But you can't expect to find your tribe of people that have become raving fans through being like an amalgamation of like Sam Ovens and Alex Hormozy and Alex Becker and whoever else.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out like, what unique edge do I have? Like, what can I bring to this that's really unique and fresh? Not for novelty's sake, but because it's authentic to who I am. And so I find when people really like break away from their content and it starts making a massive difference, they're sharing like things that sound controversial because within us all, we have controversial beliefs.
Of course.
Like, is the earth flat or round? Now, people don't have to go into that in their content, but the idea is that we all hold beliefs in our industries around what we teach that would be considered hot takes, that would be controversial, that wouldn't be widely adopted or widely accepted. Sharing those unpopular opinions is how you actually attract the people that go, I knew it. Like, that's exactly what I think. So when Paul Saladino, the carnivore MD, is talking about how vegetables are poisoning us all and how he's in the best health of his life just eating meat and fruit, there's going to be a bunch of people who hate him. There are vegans in the chat, vegans into the room, and they're trying to tear him down.
Yeah.
And then there are people who go, I knew it. Like, every time I eat broccoli, I feel bloated. I feel terrible. Oh my gosh, I'm going to give this a shot. But you will never find that deep level of resonance when you're playing in vanilla beige territory. We're just saying all the same stuff. So when it comes to YouTube and long form content, it's like you're just sitting there saying stuff that people have already heard, and you're afraid to be yourself. You're afraid to be seen. You're afraid to share what you really think. Yeah,
you couldn't have said it better. Like, I always share with clients that you have to think of storytelling or being in your videos like you're on a stage. Like, if you're showing up slouching, monotone, like, that's not the energy you bring to a stage, because that's what a YouTube video is a stage where people will decide to show up and watch you and click on play, right? So you have to show up with a certain like type of energy, but it has to be unique to you. Like, some people have an energy of being sarcastic and funny, and that's their authentic self, and they attract those people, right? So it's always about how you show up on that stage. But I always say a stage because that's what it really is. And the only time you're going to attract that people if you actually treat it that way, right?
And I think you have to leave the popularity contest behind. Like, there are people playing the popularity contest like Mr. Beast. He's not thinking about the quality of his subscribers. He's not going like, are they amazing humans who resonate with me? He's going like, how do we get the number to go up?
Yeah.
And so if you are playing that game, unapologetically play the popularity game, play to the trends, play to what's popular, play to what people accept. If you're trying to create deep connection with a tribe, you have to move from a megaphone to a dog whistle, right? A dog whistle is like not heard by most species, right? It is a specific frequency for a specific thing.
Yeah.
And I think there is so much to be said about letting go of the need to be liked and accepted by everyone. If you are not repelling people, you're not attracting the people that you want. Because you being yourself, you sharing what you believe, you showing up authentically in the way that only you can, will not be for everyone. So Tim Ferriss just has a simple like quote that I've thought about a lot over the years. He's talking about products, and he says like, don't try and get everyone to like it, just get a few people to love it, and do that over and over again. And I think if we see ourselves as the product, it's not even about trying to get people to love you. It's about understanding that if you are you, you will turn some people off. Yeah. Just like in romantic relationships. Like, some people can look at Brad Pitt and go, no, I don't know, he's not very attractive. And I'm like, you might be brain dead, right? But there are people, because they have tastes, right? But everyone is so unique in what they're into. What you're trying to do is just authentically be yourself, so that your voice and your resonance and your frequency can find that tribe that is meant for you. Find the people that only you can help, that only you can serve, people who desperately need your message.
The pineapple on pizza.
Dude, 100%.
Quickly, which, yes or no?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay, good.
So, I grew up with that, so I don't know where it came from, but like, that's a staple in New Zealand. No one thinks twice about pineapple on pizza in New Zealand.
My wife hates it. She's Italian, so it's just like against the.
Oh yeah, that would be sacrilege.
But it brings a good point, right? It's like in every story there's a hero and a villain.
Yeah.
And you need to have that, and it's like in our world, in our society, people will disagree with you, so it's a lose-lose battle if you try to appease everybody. You're trying to be vanilla, no one like wants that. It's like people have taste, people have certain beliefs. You have to, it's the only way to really stand out, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big word that people try to stand out while copying other people or trying to stand out and not being yourself. But the definition of standing out in a sea of stickman is to be the one cartoon character, is to be the one
I think
guy.
people would make way more money if they thought of themselves as cult leaders, trying to spread like a gospel and create disciples, than someone simply trying to like tell people what they already know and teach people like information. Derek Sivers has a great quote. He says, if information was all we needed, we'd all be billionaires with six-pack abs. So at some point you've got to go, okay, the reason that my audience is not buying from me or not successful is not lack of information. We have to shift beliefs in people. And so you think about any religious figure. It doesn't matter who you subscribe to. Look at all of them.
Yeah.
Look at Gandhi, look at Krishna, look at the Buddha, look at Jesus, look at Muhammad. They all came with a specific message that deeply resonated with some people. So much so that people die for those beliefs.
Yeah.
And so it's such an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to online marketing. The more you try and say what's already been said, or not intentionally, you're just saying what's already been said, and you're trying to appease everyone, you're really connecting with no one. And everything got easier for me when I was like, I am preaching a way.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you a simple example. It's kind of silly. On a Facebook post last year, I used the term bro scaling.
I remember.
And what I was doing it was in reference to how I used to run my business. I was like, I was a bro scaler, and I was like, this is what it meant. You know, I was doing nothing short of drinking the blood of my enemies to grow my business, and that caught on in this like small microcosm of like this online audience. And so for the next like 6 weeks, every new client I got on an onboarding call with was like, dude, I've been bro scaling. You know, and I'm like, I'm ready to give up my bro scaling ways. Like I want to learn like the value creator way. And it was a throwaway comment that really characterized the importance of people having an enemy, of people having a common enemy, an idea. It's not about making an actual enemy of like, we all hate this guy, right? It's about fighting this idea of like, if you think about the Republican Party, like I love looking at the elections through the lens of marketing, right? There are people who think the other side is like the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Like they've done such a great job of marketing and PR and packaging a message that they're like looking at the other people being like, we hate these people. Like, I don't know if you watch this. This is like, you know, kind of crazy, but like there are people now on the Democratic side, that women that are now shaving their heads saying, we're not going to have sex for the next 4 years and protest.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Firstly, I don't know if it's going to accomplish anything, right? But secondly, I'm like, imagine having a message so compelling that people would be willing to give things up for this, for sustaining this message, for standing for this message. And so really what I stand for with people is like, it's not about, I don't present anything as like, this is the best way or the right way.
Yeah.
But my message is for people who want to build a life that's unapologetically rich in every area, that they become holistically successful, that they're willing to sacrifice maybe the big revenue, even though many of my clients don't have to, because they want to prioritize family, because they want to prioritize their health. They want a business that as it gets bigger, life gets better and not worse. Now that message doesn't resonate with everyone. There are some people, bro scalers, right, who are willing to do anything and everything to get the biggest month, to get the pats on the back. And those people aren't my people. Everyone listening to this needs to figure out what is their core message. What is that version of their gospel that they're trying to create disciples in, that polarizes people not for the sake of creating controversy, but because it is inherently a conviction that not everyone would hold. The moment you start sharing those convictions, and they could be as deep as like what I'm sharing right now around not sacrificing your health and your values and things like that. But I'll give you a silly example. Last year I bought chickens. And so I bought chickens and I posted them on social media. Dude, I could not have ever predicted that those chickens would make me money. I literally had people message me being like, bro, I didn't know you were like, you know, cool like that. Bro, I have a, like, because apparently, and I realize this now, getting chickens is like a signal. It's like the gateway drug to conspiracy theories. It's like, dude, you start with chickens and you end up going, the government's poisoning our food. There are chemtrails in the sky, you know. And so I unknowingly bought chickens and then shared that online. And literally I attracted people that like shared similar values. that's why the ethos of everything you bring into your content of who you are and what you care about is so important. You naturally, if you're a dad, you will naturally attract more dads. You won't exclusively attract dads, but there are going to be people who go, oh, I have kids and you have kids.
Or I want kids.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really key part of it is like the more you share who you are, which is both the silly and the sacred, the more you really attract those people that aren't going to be jumping from you to some random person they saw on their Facebook feed, but they're finding you because you help them make sense of life and you give them hope that a new way for them is possible and a new way of living and a new type of result. You've shown them what's possible for them. And that person becomes a loyal fan. They become a cult member, so to speak. They become a disciple. And that's how you not only attract clients, but you retain them for years.
Man, preach. Seriously. Before we end this amazing conversation, I want to hear about why you started to do podcasting again. Before we hit record, you're talking about took a break from podcasting for a bit, and now you're traveling a lot and you're doing them again. You had this is your third podcast, last podcast of the day. And is there any thought process, strategy behind it? Like, why are you going back into podcasting?
I think there's like two answers. The first is like, I believe life is filled with seasons. And so what's right for one season might not be right for another. And so like, I got to a point where I don't know if I'd done a lot of podcasts, but I'd done dozens. And I was like, I'm kind of getting bored of this. I feel like I'm just saying the same stuff over and again. And I don't love hearing the sound of my voice that much to need that validation. So I was like, I think I'm good. And then, you know, like recently I was like, you know, I feel like I have new things to say. I feel like I'd love exploring with really cool people these ideas. And so that's part of it. The second thing is like, every hour I invest into talking with amazing people, having those conversations recorded, investing in like sharing ideas, it pays off more than anything else. It's like depositing money into Bitcoin in 2017 and then waiting 5 years, except you don't have to wait 5 years. You like upload it and it might be around for 6 weeks. And like that evergreen nature and the compounding effect of that, where it's like you might upload and it gets 50 views, but then next month it gets another 50 views. And the next month, and it just compounds in such a way that like every hour I spend creating content, it pays off more than I could ever imagine. And Ty Lopez had this great quote that I've thought about so much in the last few years. He said, the best business model is living your life and having someone film it. And that you can interpret that in a number of different ways.
Yeah.
But for me, every like hour I'm behind my computer, unless it's like I'm running a workshop and there's a stack of people there and it feels like a good use of my time, I like just start going brain dead where I'm like, no one can pay me enough money to think that this is a good use of my life to like just sit here. I want to be interacting with human beings. I want to be having interesting conversations, living my life, and then having that aspect of my life, that 1 hour captured to then be shared in a leveraged way. And so that's why I like podcasts and I like long form content is like, there is an element where it's not a separate thing. It's like an integration of life. Like I've never been to Canada and I'm in Vancouver and then it just so happened we could make this work. Right. Yeah. And that's what I really love about the serendipity and the power of these connections and conversations, because they outlive you. Like this will literally outlive me. Like the archive of the internet will keep this alive in some way, shape or form beyond the moment I take my last breath. How many things in our life do we invest in that has that kind of effect? So specific to podcasts, yes, but also just content across the board. Business got way better for me when I saw everything through the lens of art and less through commerce. So when I stopped thinking like a marketer trying to fill leads into a funnel, and I thought more about like everything is expression of art, an expression of my soul. Like content creation, it can be seen as just a means to an end, or it is the end, right? My kids might sit a decade from now and watch this video and investing in things that outlast me, even if they don't, even if no one's watching it. Like the fact that like, you know, the process I really enjoy. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's kind of the impetus
answers
behind
it and gives me so much more than I wanted. So that's awesome. As we're finishing off this amazing conversation, what do you want to leave the viewers with? And you brought a lot of emotion and stories to cement the ideas that you brought to the table. But Now we're closing things off. What do you want to leave the audience with? What do you want them to go and do? And after this podcast, what would be the best next step for them?
I think I've referenced the elections multiple times, so I'll finish on this. When you think, and I say the elections like you're Canadian, I'm New Zealand, like we shouldn't care about the elections. Somehow I feel like we all just elected a president.
Yeah,
right? It's hilarious.
yeah.
But like one of the things that's really interesting to me in observing the elections and things like that is how both sides are fighting for their version of freedom. So the other side is terrified that if they get in power, my freedoms will be taken away. I think this is so important because we all crave autonomy and sovereignty and freedom. When you look at the education system, when you look at so many different aspects of life that just don't feel like they fit, they don't feel like they make sense, it's because in some fundamental way, we feel controlled, we feel standardized, we feel like our uniqueness is suppressed, we're not allowed to be free, we're not allowed to be ourselves. And I think everyone needs to discover and clarify what their version of freedom is. And you have to make it your life's mission to become free. And whether that's financially free, where you never have to have a boss tell you something you don't want to do ever again, or whether that's you're working in a job you don't love, but it creates time freedom outside of that, and you love the idea that I leave my job I don't love, but I leave it there, and then I come home and I get to be free. I think we're all craving that expression of freedom, and everything starts when you escape the matrix of the mind, which is like the matrix isn't some system out here controlling us. It's us limiting ourselves. Viktor Frankl, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, it's an amazing book. He is a psychotherapist that's going through Auschwitz. And so he's analyzing everything that's going on around him as this horrific Holocaust is occurring. Here's this quote. He says, "Everything can be taken from someone except for the last of the human freedoms to choose how we respond in any given situation." And so autonomy and sovereignty and freedom starts in the mind. And we are only limited by the mental structures, the mental matrix that we've created for ourselves, the predetermined, like, we can do this, we can't do this. Oh, I could never make that kind of money. But you never will, if that's your belief. And so becoming free internally and then pursuing freedom externally, I think is the right and the privilege of every human. And it's never been a better time to do that. It has never been more accessible. 100 years ago, no internet. You're born into a part of the world. You were limited geographically. You're limited socially. Parts of the world, you could be born into a caste system and never be able to elevate above that. And you think India, right, with something like that. And now we look at some of the biggest companies in the world are run by Indian CEOs. We are living in this amazing time where the shackles have fallen off and the only ones that remain are the ones in our mind. And so I want people to take the freedom they're given so seriously, to not use that to limit themselves, but use that to expand themselves to a whole new level of freedom of expression where they can live fully and authentically and become who they came here to be.
So powerful. I would vote for you. Dan Bolton. 2030.
Dude, if Elon Musk is on my team, I mean, I would. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Where can people find you? Where can people learn more about you?
Easiest place is IG, at Bolton, Bolton, and follow, click something, join the journey, say hello. That's the best place.
Dude, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the pod. It was awesome to have you. Great to connect with you again.
Yeah,
so great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peace.